In the last lesson, we took a look at a base button component and what happens when requirements build on each other and we just use props as a way to manage our component. And before we knew it, what was once a simple base component becomes a very complex component that's hard to navigate and understand. So of course the question becomes, is there a better way? Absolutely. That's why we're here today to talk about slots. So what are slots? One way to think about it is to think of a mailbox where we want to be able to receive packages or, in terms of components, data. Using this analogy, when we define props, it's great when we have straightforward requirements like a blue box, 2 yellow squares, a couple triangles, and a red circle to top it off. The problem becomes what happens when we need to go beyond that initial constraint, when data begins to want to break out of the confines we originally designed it in. There are times where it's important for us to have our component be flexible to receive different types of data regardless of its shape. And vice versa if it's simple to easily accommodate that as well. In its essence, slots are a specialized element in Vue that allows developers to pass content similar to the way standard HTML elements do. Let's take a look at how this normally works. Here we have a standard div that takes a simple line of text. As we know from HTML though, we can go beyond this by adding something more complex, where it consists of actual HTML elements in addition to simple text. Comparing this to a prop-based solution for our component, this is how it would look if we use slots. As you can see, the props correlate to the content that you would pass in just like in a div, whether it's passing in different components or just text, you can combine them as you see fit. With that new knowledge, the question naturally becomes, how do we use slots? All you have to do is declare the slot element inside of your component. And believe it or not, no additional configuration is needed to make slots work. While a single slot can get you quite far, there will come a point where you're probably going to want to be able to set default content on your slot. In order to do that, all you need to do is define your default content in between your slot elements. In this case, we're providing a default text of submit to our base button component. Let's see how this works in practice. Here in our app.vue, when we call our base button with no content provided, it will go ahead and render out our default content with submit, as expected. However, if we pass content into the base button, in this case, the text cancel, it will go ahead and overwrite our default content inside of the rendered HTML. As we would expect. And believe it or not, you now have the fundamentals of how to use slots. In the next lesson, we'll take a closer look at how we can expand on our slot technique in order to build more reusable components. See you there.